organizations like Women's Initiative are excellent organizations that are putting out small amounts of capital to aspiring female entrepreneurs. The best example I can think of is Bake Sale Betty's in Oakland. Yeah. Does anyone know that Bake Sale Betty's?
But I think more like if there's
fried chicken sandwiches.
Is this
really good.
more but there's more folks in the tech sector that want to do stuff like this. If there was more like the hub coming to Silicon Valley mixed with domestic microfinance to actually be able to scale large projects, and starting at an investment level of micro, seed capital of under 250,000. Are these is this a growth area, and will we see more investment in there?
Well, I think the most interesting development in the last couple of years has been the crowdsourced funding models like Kickstarter and now ProFounder, which is founded by Jessica Jackley from Kiva, which are really unique organizations. Kickstarter is more for funding projects, and it's mostly sort of donor capital. So I think it's almost like kind of KQED, NPR. You get sort of some benefits. You might get some free T-shirts or free stuff, but there's no return to that. Whereas ProFounder it does have returns back to the investors that are tied to like percentage of revenue. I think the way it works. So and those are all pretty small. Not as small as Kiva, but a couple $1,000s up to maybe $10,000 or $15,000 investments where you get posted on a ProFounder, and then you basically go out to your own network and send it out, and then people can invest in you, and it's open to non-accredited investors. The way they structure it, it's not equity, so it doesn't run afoul of sort of SEC rules. So basically, any individual can contribute to your organization through ProFounder, and then that gives you, that obligates the company to pay you a percentage of revenue for a number of years back to you. So I don't know if that helps answer your question, but that's kind of what I know of.
An area where there's still a need.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Right here.
Hi, my name is Nick Choi. I have more like a philosophical question to Wes and Bhutan. Why do you do this? First, do you do this because the sustainable business model is more profitable, or this makes you feel better, or the giving back to the society is more like in the longer base, it's more profitable? I kind of want to know whether this is coming from like really doing business side, or more doing like giving back to the society, kind of from that philosophical kind of foundation.
Business, or is it philanthropy?
And my second question is, when you're actually investing, when there is a conflict, I have a feeling that in my intuition that there could be some offset between choosing more like ethical or more philanthropical versus more profitable. And like if you're choosing one, then you're losing the value of the other, whereas if you're choosing the other, then you're kind of not saying, is this really going to be profitable? So I was wondering, when you have this kind of conflict, then do you have any metrics or any inner values that you solve this problem? Or I kind of want to know why you do this, because it's more profitable, because it makes you feel better.
Yep.
And what do you do when there's a conflict?
Sure. I guess I'll start. Personally, from a career perspective, I do it because I'm passionate about it. I mean, I worked in banking for about 6 years in Chicago, and it was a great place to learn a lot of great skills, and I enjoyed it, but I just wasn't, at the end of the day, I was leaving the office at midnight during earnings season. I didn't feel, sort of inherently really good about my contribution to the world. And it just got me thinking and on a path that ultimately led to business school at Haas, and then working at Good Capital, where I saw an opportunity to combine my background in finance and investments with trying to do some good in the world and trying to solve problems. And I saw that business and really capitalism in the markets offer a really compelling opportunity to affect scalable change in both the way consumers consume and the way and the impact that we can create both domestically and in the developing world through the choices that we make. So I think business can be a really good tool to affect some change in the world. I also think that in a lot of cases it's a matter of it's the right way to do business. I think there are multiple ways of doing business. There are business practices that are harming the planet and people. There are business practices that are sort of neutral, and then there are business practices that are creating some good impact in the world. So I think fair trade is a great example of, by choosing as a consumer to purchase products that are fair trade certified, that means that farmers in the developing world are not being marginalized by large corporate farms internationally. They're getting sort of a fair shake, they're getting higher prices, and they can do things more sustainably, which have compounding positive impacts both on them and their families, but also on the land that they're farming. So that's why I do it.
Conflict.
Do you want to answer that, and then we'll talk about conflict, or?
Sure. So I think similarly, too much stuff here now. Similarly, I am driven by a real desire to make an impact. I think there are a lot of different opportunities for making an impact, and Jean mentioned when she was introducing me that I wrote my college thesis in the early 90s on global warming, and got involved really seriously in the intersection of environment and capital when I was an impressionable young teenager, 17 or 18. And when I was in college, I was a financial aid student, and so I had to go find work, and by dint of luck and talking to people I probably shouldn't have been talking to, ended up getting jobs working as an analyst for Yale's investments office. David Swenson runs Yale's investments office, is one of the most successful institutional investors in the world. And I worked for a very successful hedge fund manager, and I worked for Procter & Gamble as an intern in marketing. And at the same time, I wanted to make an impact with what I was doing with my spare time, and so I got involved in the environmental movement and helped run a student environmental group and helped run the recycling program, in addition to culminating in writing my thesis on global warming and international economics. And I came out of school with this very strong belief that environment was going to be as big or bigger an issue in our lifetimes as healthcare or technology. And anytime you have in a market something where there's massive shift and change, there's going to be good economic opportunity. So I saw this as an area of good economic opportunity, and I saw it as a space in which I could make an impact that would make a difference, and where if I were to get the training as a business person to make that impact, I'd be able to bring, I think as Wes is alluding to, the kind of executional discipline that business brings and the power of capital to really make a shift and a change in the marketplace. So that's what inspired me to do what I'm doing.
I think another way to frame the conflict question is whether your sustainability or your doing good aspect of your investing is a goal, or is it an actual constraint? Are you not allowed through your own charter documents to invest in something that doesn't meet the criteria that you set out? So goal or constraint?
I'll take that first. Sure. So don't tell our investors, but typically you want to have your lawyers draft your charter documents so you have as much flexibility to invest in anything you want to potentially invest in you can. But you didn't hear that from me. So
goal.
So it's really a goal-based thing. I mean, we make decisions around what we're going to invest in based on consensus, and sometimes and as you all probably know, consensus isn't always the easiest thing to get to. But as I laid out, we do have a framework in which we think about sustainability, and we actually like that framework because it has some pretty clear definitions that causes us to do things like justifiably sidestep. I mean, nuclear power until 2 weeks ago was considered a new great clean green technology to invest in. Solar thermal, I alluded to this company BrightSource, where they're going out and looking to try to pave over the deserts, which contrary to, I think, received wisdom, are not dead ecosystems. They are ecosystems unto themselves. Companies are looking to go out and pave the deserts with solar panels and sort of do to the deserts what oil companies want to do to Anwar. These are areas where we have a very clear set of views as to what we do, and frankly, it's kind of like what they say, we're sort of making money slowly, but we think it's a better way to go because it allows us to find a sort of a compass, and I'm not even going to say a moral compass because I really do think it's a market compass to integrate sustainability and make good decisions about where we're going.
So we haven't heard enough from Drew, and I have a question for you.
Oh, good.
Yeah. You, as you mentioned, you're not an actual fund. You're not doling out dollars, so there's no sort of limit per se on how many investments you can make. What kinds of limitations do you have, or do you place on the number of projects you take on, or
Yeah, it's probably not a quantitative thing, but it's probably making sure that we stick to things that we know how to do and within kind of our scope of expertise. So we're an IT company, and so we're not pretending to be in the petroleum industry or even in the energy industry, but we have deep expertise in those industries when it comes to applying technology as leverage to help make things happen. So I guess it's really a question of knowing our business, knowing our customers' business, and knowing how we can help, but without going, into the deep end and wading into waters that we're really not familiar with. We usually end up paying dearly for that by the market, who recognizes that whenever you go into an area that you're not really successful in, the market lets you know. So the market's always telling you, it's always redirecting you and helping you find your way. And I do agree that it's really the market compass that I think is most effective, at least for us. The other thing is, we respond to profit signals as well, and part of sustainability is essentially, if you're going to sponsor sustainable projects, then you yourself need to be sustainable so that you have that capital that you can apply. And so it's the, put your oxygen mask on first kind of thing. And so, we try to make sure that we are successful in the areas that we're strongest in, so that we then have capital that we can work with to try and help. One other thing I want to mention is, you were mentioning some of the organizations you're involved with here. I need to put a plug in for one that I'm on the board, and I need to go to the meeting this afternoon, and that's Sustainable Silicon Valley. It's a terrific organization down in Santa Clara, excuse me. And one of the things we do is we help work with entrepreneurs and work with organizations to bring focus around sustainability, using this region as kind of a proof point, and then hopefully apply those best practices other places. So there are a large number of organizations that I would encourage everyone to try to look up and get involved with if it works out for you, because there's a lot of leverage in working with these organizations too. They can help identify sources of capital and can help get you going.
Right. So I think we just have time for one more question from the audience, and we'll go with you.
Hi, thank you very much for your time. My name is David, and I work at a firm that lends money to clean tech and later stage companies. My question specifically for Gautam, with regards to investing and selecting investments. In the clean tech space, you see a lot of venture investing, for example, Coastal Ventures, which really focuses on technology, and then later stage project finance when companies are about to go public. So actually this also applies to you, Patrick, with respect to finding public investments. How do you source clean tech investments in the lower middle market stage? I feel like that's an interesting niche to invest in clean tech, and also in the public markets. Patrick, you just elucidated on that. I appreciate that.
Well, thank goodness that you directed the public market question to Patrick, because I can't pretend to understand how the public markets work. So, good luck. I'm excited about hearing this from you. With regard to private market, lower middle market investing, as I was saying when I was speaking earlier, we like the space because we're kind of below the radar. It's not like you have investment bankers coming up and showing up with these little companies for the most part, because they're just too small for these firms to make their big fees off of. And this is exactly where you want to get in. In terms of finding these companies, there's just no easy answer to it. And I think the real advantage we have is that, Alex started his career in Europe 20 years ago working in big oil, and moved into being into running a third office of a major European private equity fund for 10 years. So he built a lot of relationships. He's very well connected in Europe. I've been focused on sustainability in different ways throughout my career since college, almost 20 years ago. And similarly, we've brought together a team that has very, very deep experience in playing in leverage finance and energy. And as you may have seen, we've been lucky to get on our advisory board some pretty well-connected people as well. It's really just kind of building the relationships, meeting people, keeping in people's Rolodex. And I've found companies that I met the CEO 5 years ago, and I'm reconnecting with them now and seeing opportunities to pursue. So it's just kind of maintaining relationships and being open to the opportunities. There's no real magic to it, unfortunately.
You know, finding the right groups to work with in the clean tech space as one-offs, as investments, is very difficult. And what we have chosen to do is to rely on our advisors, our 3 advisors in the public space, to provide us with opportunities. And you know what we've ended up with is just investing in clean tech ETFs. And they said, you know, here's a suite of offerings, here's a suite of opportunities, here's the returns, but there's also the returns of the ETFs, which provide us with flexibility and the quick exit. And that's what we've chosen to do, is just work with clean tech ETFs.
Okay, well, I think we're out of time. Thank you so much for your questions and your attention.
Hello, just one moment. We at the Venture Group thank the panel for a great discussion, and then also we'd like to recognize 2 of our sponsors, 3rd Street Wine Ale in Simona, and also Sprinkles. And right now we'll be having lunch in the back. Please join us. We'll reconvene at 1:30.